Today I'm here with Thomas, Carli, the one and only.
I grew up in a very musical household. Like both my parents are musicians as well. One rule that was a rule in my house was you have to play piano when you're younger. It was not fun to practice Beethoven over and over again on a Saturday afternoon. I find that jazz musicians can be a bit more of like snobs about their pure jazz sometimes. Music now is like everything is created kind of on a laptop. Take Billie Eilish, for example. Like her whole first record that was huge was made by her brother on his laptop.
Speaking on just more digital stuff, I want to ask you about AI. We're seeing Mr. Krabs and Plankton diss tracks on each other.
The idea of like going to see a live band, that can't get taken by AI. We do these like composition master classes where one of the full-time professors will come in and you'll present a score in front of the class, and then they'll like basically tear it apart and basically like be like, wrong, and why are you doing this? And then you're like, and then you try to write music for them so that next time you come to that master class that they love it. Now I'm writing music for my professor. Is this really what I want to be doing? Well, filming at the concerts is one that I
think it might be the concert. Do you film at concerts?
No. People who have their phone out the whole time. If you go to a bar in Toronto too, there's no one on their phone there. It's at when you're at places like Scotiabank Arena watching a huge artist that people are like, whoa, look at this, you know?
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the VoV podcast, Voices of Vic. Today I'm here with Thomas, Carli, the one and only hockey player and drummer. That's a good combo you got there.
It is, yes. Yeah.
Does it help with the ladies? Does it help with the relationship game?
Not as much as one would think.
Yeah.
The drumming more than the hockey playing for sure, because my drumming skills are definitely better than my hockey skills.
That's fair. He's a good hockey player though too.
Yeah, it's true. We're pretty good this year. I think our team's not bad. The Vic team, we got a good team. Playing
off to a rough start, but you know we're finding our way.
But the games are close every time. Every time. It's not like last year it would be dentistry be whipping our butt.
Yeah.
So we're in it. We're in it for sure. Yeah.
I agree. We'll see. We'll build up the team. Keep going at it. What's gotten you into playing hockey still? A lot of people fall off like after high school, but you're keeping up your athleticism.
Yeah, well, it can be hard with like school, obviously, to keep up any kind of like, exercise. But I played hockey when I was younger, especially when I was in like elementary, middle school. I played like a rep hockey for like 4 or 5 years and kind of fell in love with it then played like, high school hockey throughout my times in high school. And I know I whenever I'm not playing, it feels like something's wrong. And then when I get to play, it's like, it's a huge relief, and also a great like full body workout like all the time. And
I agree, because I worked out like in the whole summer, but as soon as you get back on the ice, it's like I am so out of shape. I don't know what it is. What am I missing training? Because I do legs, upper body, everything, but hockey is like it works a different level that you don't even know how to reach.
It's working all the things that you aren't working somehow.
Yeah.
Even if you're working the whole body.
Somehow.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Hockey, it's been good. Yeah. It's like it's such a cool thing as well to meet people as well. Like being in music, like it's very easy to get stuck in just that community. I'm sure with a lot of other programs too, whatever program you're in, hanging out with the people in your program. But like hockey, it brings together a lot of interesting people together, and it's a whole different community than what we have in say music. So it's really, really nice. Yeah.
Absolutely. We'll dive deep into your music career so far. First, I just want to link it to hockey though. Like, do you have to stay in shape to play the drums?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, what do you got to train for that?
Well, you got to your wrists, especially have to be wrists and fingers mainly are what like have to stay in shape. But I mean, as well as when you're playing drums, you're using your whole body, so you just have to play. Really, if there's ever times where I'm playing a show, like actually recently, we played a show last night with my band Meteor Heist at the Burdock Brewery, and I hadn't played drums in I think a week and a bit. And I was
Where is that?
The Burdock Brewery.
Yeah.
It's like over at Dufferin Station, so on the Green Line. Yeah, it was a good low show. It was really fun. But I remember I was sitting down at the drums, and like sometimes the thing where it notices is when you're playing a show how long it takes you to settle in. If I'm out of shape, I will feel uncomfortable from the start. Like last night, I had not played in a long time, and I knew it was going to happen, and I just have been so busy with midterms and all that.
Yeah.
When I sat down, I was like, this is just it. Nothing I didn't train wreck or anything, but it definitely was like, I was definitely noticeable that I had not played in a while.
You could feel it.
Yeah, so definitely staying in shape is super important. And then when I'm like very much in shape playing drums, I can feel more confident in my playing, and I can come up with more creative ideas and stuff like that, and it's a lot easier to do that sort of thing. Yeah,
that's
for
awesome.
sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing for hockey. Every single time it's your first game of the season, it's rust, no cardio. My cardio is terrible.
Yeah.
First game back.
Yeah.
But then as soon as one game, it's like you're back to speed. It's so weird.
Yeah,
it's just that initial hit of just like, okay, this is what this is like.
Yeah, our first game this year was was rough.
Yeah.
It was rough.
I don't
I
remember
was like,
the score. I don't
oh
even
my
know if
God.
I want to announce the score.
What was the score?
I don't know.
It was
6 something.
Six something.
6 something.
Yeah, we didn't score 6. I know that. I can't remember exactly what it was, but definitely that wasn't. Yeah, I think we maybe had 1.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Hey.
Something like
Shout out
that.
to Yegor. He got that goal.
Yes,
it
shout out
was
to
it was
Yegor.
6-1.
Yeah, that was. I remember that goal. It's a good one.
So yeah, tell me about your story. Drums. How do you start into that? How do you get to U of T? Why do you go to U of T? Why don't you just pursue it yourself?
Yeah. I grew up in a very musical household. Like both my parents are musicians as well. So one rule that was a rule in my house was you have to play piano when you're younger. My parents were really strong believers in, not even necessarily to become a musician, or it's just to have that musical knowledge of playing the piano and visualizing kind of music and having an instrument to practice. So I played piano from a young age and I hated it. I just thought it was the most not cool thing. I would play like recitals and that would be kind of okay, and I'd do a competition here and there. Like I wasn't very good, but I do little things here and there. I enjoyed that part of it, but just the practicing, it was not fun to practice Beethoven over and over again on a Saturday afternoon. That was not. I'd rather be playing hockey. Or what I discovered, I was like, well, there's got to be some cooler instruments, and I decided I was like, wonder if I can take drums. So I started taking up the drums and playing a little bit of percussion, like in high school. So like as part of like concert bands and orchestras and stuff. And I kind of started really liking that, and through that, I decided to go to an arts high school where I played percussion throughout that. But while I was playing percussion, I knew that percussion was always just a segue to play drums, because that's what I wanted to do. I liked playing percussion, but drum kit and drum set and playing in a band is really where I wanted to be. Yeah. So yeah, and then it came to the point of like going into university, where it's like when you apply for a music program, there are so many options as to what you can specialize in. You can go into a general degree, you can go into composing, you can go into like a classical degree or a jazz degree, which are two very different things. And in fact, there's 2 different buildings on campus for that at U of T. So I was like, well, maybe I want to do a jazz degree because that means more drum set playing. But then I kind of realized that all these past years of playing like percussion and classical music, I actually really enjoy not just playing classical music, but also like writing classical music and kind of embracing myself in that kind of world. So I decided to, although like most of my friends who played in bands and stuff were going to jazz programs at Humber or U of T or York, it was kind of a weird decision, but I was like, I think I want to do the classical thing. Which kind of is interesting, because now I travel in a lot of circles with people who are jazz musicians, and I'm kind of the odd one out who went to the classical school and like study classical music. And I honestly don't regret it at all. It's like it's been such a great like community I've built among classical musicians, and I also love playing and writing classical music. And although I love jazz too and playing drums, I can kind of do that on the side, and it makes it like that much more special, because it's not exactly what I'm studying, but it's still kind of in the same world.
100%.
So yeah, that's kind of the story.
Do you notice there are like personality types between the different kinds of music? Like, are the classical musicians, like, can you sense there's a different energy than the jazz musicians?
Absolutely.
Really?
Absolutely. Well, it's funny. Jazz musicians, I find I won't get in trouble for this. I find that jazz musicians can be a bit more of like snobs about their pure jazz sometimes. Don't get me wrong, classical musicians as well definitely can be like that. But there's definitely, the one thing I think is kind of disappointing about music school in general is that there isn't connections between them. Like, we're in 2 different buildings. We don't really hang out that much. Yeah.
Jazz and classical?
Jazz and classical is like 2 different things. But it's like, why? Like, why is that a thing? I mean, the people, there are differences in them, but like we're still studying music together. And like, we take one class in first year with jazz and classical people together. And it's like, it's in like a 150 person lecture hall. And then that's it.
After that, it's straight rivalry.
After that, it's straight rivalry. And it's like, why? Like, I have not gone to the jazz building in my time here.
Damn.
Like, and I've been here for like, I've already done a whole year and like well into my 2nd year. And I've never even gone over there, because it's like, there's no opportunities to play there, and it's too bad. I think that'd be a real, if like U of T could figure out a way to integrate like jazz players into the classical stream and vice versa. I think that would open up a lot more, just a better community overall. Yeah,
interesting. Sure. And you're a very social guy, I could tell. I think you have an easy time making friends. So when you are like talking with do you have more classical friends or do you have more jazz friends?
Definitely classical friends, just because I'm in classes with them,
right?
And, I'm playing in ensembles with them. But in fact, I don't think I don't have too many really close jazz friends other than people that I know not from school, from playing shows around and you go to U of T, and it's like, I've never even seen you because you're the same year as me, but like I've never even seen you because you're in a completely different program.
Yeah.
So no, I definitely have more classical friends, not by choice, just simply because that's who I'm hanging around
the
and studying
environment
with.
who you're surrounded with.
Yeah, for sure.
No, that would be interesting. I wonder, I don't know if U of T would ever consider it. It's weird. Like, is there a difference in the way that music is managed? Like just the course load, the professors, like is the student life of a music student like really drastically different than the normal U of T experience?
Yes. In a lot of ways, yes and no, actually, because yes, we take classes, we do readings, we have lectures, all that kind of stuff. But there's some classes we take, for example, like any kind of ensemble class where your lecturer is going to rehearse with other people, and then you often don't have your homework is just to learn the music, and that's kind of based on how you play and performances or how well you are prepared for rehearsals. That's your mark. Like there's nothing else. There's no like writing, there's no reading. That's kind of what you're doing. So like that's something that is very exclusive to music. But yeah, in terms of like course load and working, I mean, other than like practicing, that's kind of a weird thing that we do, and where we like lock ourselves in a practice room before like recitals and stuff, and we just practice for hours and hours a day. Like people study together and stuff. Like I find that was kind of hard about first year, was like I always wanted to study with people or go to Robarts and hang out with the people I was meeting in Vic, but I was like, I got to go lock myself in the basement of the music building and practice. So that's kind of like a different thing. But no, overall, it's like, we have different kinds of workloads than like an art sci student or another kind of U of T student would have. But overall, it's the same kind of thing. Yeah.
That's cool. It'd be weird. Like, are you ever worried about disturbing? Because there is quiet hours. Obviously, you can play in your room, you can play in residence, but like, I feel like it's easier for arts and science students to just go pull out a book and start studying, right? You gotta it's a whole setup.
Yeah, you gotta book rooms. That's a big. You have to be really on top of your time because you have to know. But I remember when I was in first year and living in Burwash.
Yeah.
Wrapping the Burwash hoodie, by the way.
Shout out to Burwash.
When I was living in Burwash, like I had to really plan out my time as to when I was going to practice during the week, because if you don't book a room, someone else is going to.
Yeah.
And then you get to a day where it's like, okay, now I have some spare time and I need to practice, but I can't because there's no rooms. That's like the worst feeling ever, because now you're like, well, what do I do with I mean, you can get caught up on other school stuff, but that's not as fun as practicing. But so yeah, definitely in terms of that and booking rooms and like knowing your schedule like in advance, that's like a really important thing for music students.
That's a good skill to learn.
Absolutely.
Because you have to, exactly. There's no like last minute studying for the midterm. You gotta like be weeks ahead always.
Yeah, that's true. I remember in first year there was a few, maybe we do these things in music where we have weekly lessons with whatever you're taking. So like if you're taking percussion, for me, we take a percussion lesson every week. And I remember during my first year, I was like, oh yeah, you can kind of just go in there and pull something out and just work on it.
Yeah.
But no, like even if you, like some people, they just think, oh, you can practice the day before and I'll be ready. Like, no, you have to keep it up every day to like kind of build that, to build that, the ability to play whatever you're trying to play. Yeah. So that was something that was like, oh wait, I actually have to focus in and work on that. Luckily I got a hold of it pretty early and I maybe had one or two lessons that were a little awkward where I was like, oh, that's kind of all I prepared. But now I kind of have an idea of what I need to do and like how to be successful in that sense. Yeah.
That's cool. What do you think playing music is closer to? Do you think it's closer to studying and school, or do you think it's closer to sport, like hockey? Because it's almost like it is a performance.
That's a good question. I mean?
Like going and playing an instrument it sounds closer to trying to win a hockey game than it does trying to pass a test.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, a lot of the people who are in the music program at U of T are doing something, they're in like the orchestral scene. So I don't know if you know this, but in a lot of every kind of major city in North America and a lot in Europe too have like an orchestra, and the way you get into these orchestras, and they pay well, and it's like a full-time job, and that's kind of a big goal of a lot of people. And the way you get in there is you do a blind audition for it. So they'll post a job opportunity, and say it's like, we have a job opening for a violinist. And so then, 300 violinists from around the world will go in on a blind audition where it's like there are like 10 people, or maybe not that many, but there's a panel of people who sit and they don't even see you.
It's like The Voice?
It's like
and like
The Voice.
Your chair?
Yeah, like The Voice, except you don't even get to see who they are until the like last three maybe, or something like that. So it's like, you have to be able to go up against like 300 people, kind of like very much like a support, and be
Right.
like and show why you're the best out of all of them with just your sound.
Wow.
Nothing to do with who you are as a person.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to think about. So in that sense, yes, very much like a sport, and like the amount of like rigorous practicing you have to do for that,
Yeah.
and to prepare for that, insane, insane amount of work.
Is that
Yeah.
what your goal is too?
No.
No. So then what's the plan here?
I don't know. People always ask me this, and I always don't know. But I as much as I love playing orchestral music, the idea of just like practicing 10 hours a day and like to play an like I want to do a little bit more of everything. If you do that, that's what you're doing. You're not doing much else of other things.
Yeah.
So I want to do like something I've kind of got into in the past year is producing music.
Yep.
So I like my band Meteor Heist. I produced our first single that we released. I'm working with another band called Jacob's Ladder right now on another song that's coming out in about a month, and I've kind of realized that I love like the process of recording and making, coming into the studio and figuring out how to work with microphones and all that kind of stuff. So definitely something like that. I'm also taking a lot of composition classes at U of T, so like writing a lot of music. So
Yep.
something that could tie that in is like film music, where a lot of that is like, you write the music, you play it, and then you produce it all in one, and then you send it off to the filmmaker, and that's kind of a job as well.
Yeah.
So I definitely, and then as well, playing drums as well. That's like another thing. So like definitely I think there's a balance of all those things, which
Yeah.
would be really fun. And even playing the occasional orchestral gig, I don't think that would be fun too. But I just think trying to work now so that in 10 years, I have a very like diverse palette of things I could do.
Yeah.
And that way it's not like if one thing doesn't work out, then I'm screwed. That's kind of the vibe. Yeah.
I think that a lot of music students, if I had to guess, are maybe not envious. That's probably the wrong word, but they'd like to be in a position where you are, because you're in your own band, yeah? And
Yeah.
you play gigs around the city. And I think that there's a lot of students who would love that opportunity, but they just can't get it. So, like, what would you say, like, how did you get into that? Because going to U of T and playing music is one thing, but also, like, having your side gigs, your hustles, that's a dream in itself.
I mean, I'm super lucky because I'm going to school in like the city I grew up in. So I grew up in Toronto. So a lot of the people I play with are people that I met before I came here.
Got it.
So that was kind of another main reason why I wanted to come to U of T is I wanted to maintain all those connections I had, because I did play as much as I could through high school. Tried to maintain that kind of same thing, playing in a band, playing around, like going to different music classes and stuff, meeting lots of interesting people. So I mean, for anyone who's trying to get a band started, like the one thing I can say is just find people more importantly than like people who are musically sound, but find people who you really like to hang out with, and start doing that. And there are always opportunities to play. Open for a band. Reach out to a venue. Like you never know. Like venues are often looking for just bands to come play on occasional night. And then if your music's good, like you'll have people who are there who will like really like it, and they'll start following you on Instagram, and then they'll come to the next show, bring their friends. And I think that the idea of playing in a band, it's like looked at as like, whoa, you play in a band, it's this really hard thing to do, but it's not. If you really enjoy doing it and you're passionate about it, it's super feasible, and it's really rewarding too, because you get to make music with people you love and meet different people at different bars around Toronto. Like it's a cool scene to be in. Yeah.
That's awesome. You say your parents were both musicians?
Yeah.
Or musical at least?
Yeah.
What did they play?
My mom, so she did the orchestral thing. She's a violinist in the Toronto Symphony.
Yeah.
And my dad, he's a film composer, so he writes music for films. And but he's also a saxophone player. He went to U of T for saxophone way back in the 90s. And my parents actually met playing in the Toronto Symphony together. My dad was subbing in for saxophone, and that's how they met. So every time I go there, it's always funny because it's like, this is why I exist. This place,
exactly.
Like thanks to this establishment, I have a life. So that's kind of cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
So, like, does a part of you want to continue that legacy? Like, if you were to have kids one day, is it music? Are you gonna try to direct them to music? Or is it just lucky that you happen to, land the same interest?
I mean, I have a sister who is a great musician and I played music all her life, but she went into like English and cultural studies at McGill. So she's doing a completely different thing.
Yeah.
Just because that's what she's passionate about. And so like I think that's so cool that she's also like an amazing musician and also has the ability to write like insane essays. I read her essays. I'm like, can you teach me how to do that? I would love to do that. Like she has those amazing skills together. So I mean, just because you play music, I don't think it necessarily means you have to do it full time. Like there's a lot of people I know, especially here as well, who are great musicians who are in engineering or something doing. But I think that's even more impressive. It's like, wow, you already did the music thing, and now you're doing you're like developing an entirely different set of skills. Like
Absolutely.
that's an amazing thing to do as well, right? So
how long do you think it would take someone to learn let's say the guitar, because I'm asking actually for myself. I think that would be awesome to just be able to whip it out and like have so many other skills, because I like to diversify my range of, I guess, abilities, if you want to call it that way.
Yeah.
And I've talked a lot about how it's important to know how to do a lot, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's you can be a hockey player and you can be a drummer and you can be an English essay writer, whatever. Like there's so many. It's cool to be good at different things, right? It's not. That's at least my approach. Some people would disagree. They think that you should really master one thing. I'm not saying don't master one thing. I think that, I mean, James Bond. James Bond is James Bond because he can shoot and he can drive.
Yes,
and he's good.
Exactly.
He's a good smooth talker. You know, he has all these things.
Yeah.
So, how long, for me? Because I can't play any instruments. My dad plays drums. He's a drummer.
Yep.
He played in a band. Everything. How long would it take me to learn the guitar from scratch?
From scratch, I'd say, well, learn the idea of like learning, like mastering the guitar. For anyone's like hard, but to be able to like, you know, whip out a guitar and be able to like work around with like play a song and sing along. I think that like a year would be like a reasonable goal.
Can you learn it song by song?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, the way the guitar works, it's learning. Once you learn like 7 or 8 chords, you've got like like hundreds of thousands of songs already, right? So just like, and there's lots of sources online where you can find, you know, what the chords to your favorite song. Like with the internet, like literally any song has the chords to it. So just go online and, you know, figure out, and with YouTube and stuff too. I mean, the way I learned guitar was like the last kind of thing that I was like maybe 12 or 13 when I first picked up a guitar, as opposed to like piano and drums and bass, which I'd all played when I was, you know, before I was even 10. Yeah. But guitar was the last thing I kind of picked up. And I remember like I never took a lesson, but it was kind of just by playing around. We used to have a guitar lying around in my like living room. And you'd sit and watch the hockey game, or you'd sit and you'd be like studying, or maybe not studying. That's not a great idea. Focus on school. But you know, just playing around and kind of just trying to make up ideas. I mean, there's such an idea around music that like when you do something, it has to sound perfect, and it has to like. But you know, just the idea of picking up and try to learn one chord, it's like that's cool. Yeah. And you can and then once you have that, you can maybe play with someone else who plays guitar, and you know, play with them and jam, or there's jams you can go to in Toronto. Bring your guitar, and people are super supportive of that. Like, just kind of embrace yourself in like the whole music thing, or the whole music culture, or even actually you don't even have to do that. Just have a guitar around and just play as much as you can. I think that's kind of the best advice. That's
awesome. Because my favorite artist, I say guitar. My favorite artist is John Mayer, who is an amazing guitarist.
Unbelievable.
One of the best in my opinion. A little biased.
No, he's amazing. John Mayer is ridiculous. He's so good. He's like, he's insane. And the fact that his songs are really good too. Like Slow Dancing in a Burning Room.
Amazing.
My word, that song. Every time, like, you know, when you have a crush on a girl and you like picture like slow dancing with them for the first time. Yeah. I feel like that for like most people is like the song.
Yeah. No, perfect.
You know?
No, I love it. It's great. It's great. My mom's super happy to hear that because she also loves John Mayer.
There you go.
So yeah, it's awesome. But I think that it would just be awesome to learn. I think it's just adds to anyone's arsenal of being a unique person. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Go for it. That's what I'd say. Just do it.
Yeah. How do you feel about music becoming a lot more like digitalized now? Like a lot of the music that's being created, it's not even really more with the instruments anymore. It's on the computer. Yeah. You see a lot of these like, what do you even call these guys that are like, it looks like it's just like music editing software where they put the sounds, they match it up.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
it's not a traditional musician.
Well, it's weird because music now is like everything is created kind of on a laptop or some kind of computer. Yeah. Like you take a lot of the big artists now, like take Billie Eilish for example. Like her whole first record that was huge was made by her brother on his laptop. Jeez. You know, like that's crazy to think about. Like 50 years, 40 years, 30 years ago. Like impossible to do that without going to a studio for thousands of dollars. Yeah. And like, you know, which is, I think is so great because people who don't have the, you know, as many
100%.
Opportunities to like financial opportunities.
You're lowering the barrier to entry.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yes. And same with like, yes, Spotify has problems for artists, but like the idea that anyone can upload music is amazing, and it's like so accessible. You can have a playlist that has like John Mayer and your best friend. Yeah, that's so cool. Yeah. You know, that's an amazing thing to have, and you know, it makes the music so much more personal as well to have it like be on the same level as Spotify, and it has opportunities for all different types of people too. 100%. I think it's really important. Yeah.
Do you think that it like dilutes the not like the application itself? I mean, just like dilutes the music space Because yes, it's amazing that anyone can enter, but then you also have like anyone can enter. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I feel like that barrier of like, is it good enough? Is like, like it's so subjective. When everyone's kind of doing their thing, and it's like so hard to say what is like good and bad music.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, there is stuff that I will listen to, and I'll be like, wow, that is awful, But
Yeah.
maybe it's amazing to someone else, and like why is my opinion more important than theirs? They're also enjoying it. So I mean, yes, I do hear what you're saying. Like it does make it so that people, maybe who aren't as musically educated or don't exactly know what they're doing are releasing stuff that maybe isn't as professional. But I mean, hey, that's cool too. And if it's
That's
like,
where you start.
yeah, if someone likes it, then why not? Or if you enjoy making it, this seems like a valid enough reason,
Absolutely,
So,
absolutely. Yeah, there's no limitation on the quality of a podcast. You can make and put it on Spotify if you want.
There you go. There
So,
you go.
It's
Exactly.
awesome. Yeah, no, I think that either way, the best you're gonna crop to the top. So
Yeah.
it's awesome. Speaking on just more digital stuff, I want to ask you about AI, and if AI is gonna come into the music scene soon enough. It already is.
Oh yeah.
We're seeing Mr. Krabs and Plankton diss tracks on each other.
I've thought about this so much. I've like lied awake trying to go to sleep thinking about, man, AI is going to change everything. I think as a lot of people have too.
I swear, yeah, everyone's worried. You don't know whose job's getting taken now because no one thought music was going to be affected by AI. I didn't, at least. I don't know who did. Art, I didn't think that. I thought it was more like restaurant workers or like cashiers would maybe get replaced.
Yeah.
This kind of stuff, but literal artistic creation by robots.
I do. Yeah, no, totally. And it's like, there are examples of it already. Like in like 5 years, you'll have record labels going to like AI bots to like write hit songs.
Yeah.
Cause it like, I mean, a lot of like popular songwriting is like often used like science of like what chords work, what melodies work.
Yeah.
And that's just like humans have like figured out how to do that, but AI can do it so much better.
Yeah.
So it's like, I do think that still that there won't like that, the idea of like going to see a live band, that can't get taken by AI. I don't think.
That's a good point.
But there are a lot of like, for example, like film. I was talking about film scoring earlier. Like you're gonna have in probably 10, 15 years, you'll have like an AI bot that can write a pretty like passable film score for a movie. Like I think that's definitely coming. Or
That's
like
crazy.
Or like even like fake instruments. Like a lot of these, like there's like libraries of sounds you can make where you can like replicate the sound of like a real instrument, of like a violin or like a oboe.
What do you mean?
Like if you take like an orchestra, for example.
Yeah.
And what used to happen in like the old days of like old film composing is you'd have an orchestra come in and the film composer would hand you like the music to the musicians and they'd play it, they record it, and that'd be the soundtrack. Yeah. But now you're getting this isn't necessarily about AI, but now you're getting people like libraries of sounds, so you can like replicate the sound of a violin and just like replicate that like 20 times, and then there's your violin section with all the instruments. There are film scores that are made, in fact most film scores now are made with like fake instruments that sound like real instruments just because they're cheaper.
No, it would be cheaper.
It would be cheaper.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
That's a real thing. Yeah, because like normally every movie. Have you seen the videos? I saw the videos of like the Star Wars film, the like musicians for that. It's a huge thing.
Huge orchestra, and employs so many classical musicians. Too,
yeah,
which is why it's like.
No, it's scary.
It's scary for. Oh yeah, I mean even in the past 10 years, there's been just way less work in that field, just because of these like new instruments. You can literally just download them or pirate them or like they're not even if you do buy it, it's like $50 for like a full orchestra that sounds pretty good.
Crazy.
So I mean obviously people who are financing projects will want to use that over an orchestra where you have to pay everyone by the hour and stuff like that's stressful.
When I was younger, I feel like a lot of people might have had this thought. Maybe you've had this thought. My parents, you'd always hear your parents say, "Oh yeah, back when I was a kid, they'd tell us all this stuff about how the world has changed so much. When they were a kid, this happened, and in the future, it's completely different. Like, whether it's cell phones, no cell phones when I was a kid, none of this. You had to send, no email, you had to send letters directly to people. So when I was a kid, I always thought, that's interesting. Like, I wonder when I get older, is the world really going to change that much? Yeah. It can't change that much. Like, I don't think I'll be telling my kids about how old the present day is. Like, it seems so modern, right? When I was a kid. And now I'm seeing, this is just in like the last 10 years. It feels like a completely different world. It feels like I'm already thinking of like, there's concerts. What if concerts become less, like so much less popular that I go to the concert one day and say, and they're like shocked by the fact that people are playing live instruments. That it's not like robotic or some sort of computer generated thing.
Ugh.
Crazy.
No, but it could get. Have you ever seen those like what are they called? Where it's like a light, like what do they call? They like project someone's figure, like a
Hologram?
hologram
yeah.
concerts. What?
That's a thing?
They're like kind of
Never
a little
seen
bit.
it.
Yeah, I don't think it's a big thing yet, but you can project the image of someone like pretty well to to just watch them play. It's like they're not even there.
That's wild.
Unbelievable. There was a Black Mirror about that actually. That's where that's from.
That seems like a good show. I've
Yeah,
never seen it.
yeah. There was a Black Mirror's a great show. I love Black Mirror. But there's an episode where Miley Cyrus was in it, and it was basically they just took her, and it was like it seemed so crazy, but now when I think about it, it's so feasible to make work. But they just took her and they just filmed her, and then they put her they took her on tour without her actually having to go on tour. They just would project her every night.
Whoa.
Isn't that insane?
That is
crazy.
insane.
That's so easily gonna happen.
It
Though. It's
could happen.
ridiculous.
Absolutely. What do you think is okay, so when you're having this idea of composing music, and obviously we're talking about AI, that aside, the future of music, do you think music school will be a thing still, a big thing when you're grown and you have kids? Do you think your kids will be able to go to music school?
I think music school will be a thing. I do think in order for music school to stay successful, it has to change. I think there's a lot of problems with the way music school is run.
In what ways do you think you'd change?
Well, I just think that, I mean, don't get me wrong, the idea of learning the fundamentals of a classical or jazz style, is very important. I do think that, however, if you look at the percentage of population that are listening to jazz or classical music, it's tiny. It's so small. People are listening to completely other things, like rap music and listening to rock music and listening to pop music and the evolution of pop music. There's so many interesting things that are just not brought up in music school standardly.
Does the U of T music school just see themselves as higher than that? Is that what it is?
There's definitely a bit of snobbery, always as there is with a lot of things at U of T, definitely. But I mean, we play a lot of contemporary classical music, which is good. But at the end of the day, I try to if I ever took one of my friends who doesn't study music to a classical contemporary concert, they would have no idea what's going on. Yeah. Because it's all about different sounds, and it doesn't sound like music to them. It doesn't sound like anything they've ever heard before. And it's and I as much as I love that music because I've been kind of taught to learn that love that music. It's what is the point of this if it's just for this 0.1% of people who have a very, very detailed education of music, So I think there's definitely needs to be more emphasis on what do people in the world, what are they listening to, why are they listening to it, and why, how can that be incorporated into the education of a music degree? I think that's not really emphasized enough, and I think that would be a good addition. I think that would help music, more people wanting to go to music school, and it would definitely help people. A lot of people who leave music school. There's not a set job for you, really. I mean, you can play music here and there, but there's very little full-time jobs. You kind of have to make your own thing to go teach or something, right? So I think that would I feel like having more education about what's happening in the world of music instead of studying music that was popular a long time ago, 200 years ago. I think that would really help a lot of people when they finish their degree to understand their place in the music industry, kind of thing. Yeah.
Got it. Yeah, it's definitely a perfect way to describe it. Top 1%, 0.1%. It's high-end, very high-end restaurants where the food is the portion is this tiny.
Yeah.
And it's almost like an art piece instead of actual food. Have you seen? There's a movie I watched called The Menu, and it was it's this horror thriller type movie where this super high-end restaurant was just serving the wackiest shit, and you just saw how there's real places in the world where they'll serve these tiny bullshit intricate dishes, but it's super fancy to the people who know how to interpret it. So I'm wondering if that's classical music, because the average person will look at it and be what's this?
That's a great analogy. That's
give me a Big Mac.
That's the perfect analogy.
You know
yeah. I mean? If the Big Mac is Taylor Swift, what everyone wants, but then we have this all these really obscure music that don't sound like anything. That's kind of all this textual stuff. I mean, yes, I like it and I understand it, but that's because of my background, right?
Yeah.
And it's why are we putting so much effort into this if not anyone understands it?
Yeah,
it doesn't really make much sense. But that's a great analogy. Yeah, exactly. It's exactly what it's like.
In the modern age, who do you think does the best job of not completely embarrassing classical music and the basis of what music is, which I think is kind of what you're studying, right?
Yeah.
But it still appeals to the masses. Which artist do you think is respected but also liked?
that's a good question. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of people in my program who are like who would look at like pop music and be like, this is very disposable. Like, it's not interesting musically.
Yeah.
But I think to look beyond that, you kind of have to say, okay, so why are like 1 billion people streaming it then, right? So I think that any artist that is achieving like a mass level of success, there's something they're doing right. Yeah. And I think that it's hard to be like a music snob, be like, oh, it's not good if like that many people like it, you know?
That's a good point.
Right? So I think that Taylor Swift is a great example of this. This is music that if you like presented in a music school, you'd be laughed at because it's like the songs have 4 chords. They can be played by like anyone, and like it's nothing that necessarily hasn't been done before. It's like a development of like, you know, songs that have happened before. Like these chord progressions have been used like time and time again. So why is it so successful? Well, it's like, first of all, you have Taylor Swift, who's an icon. She's doing like amazing. It's going on these massive tours. She's super inspirational to tons of women around the world and stuff.
Causing
like that.
Earthquakes and stadiums and stuff.
Crazy. And maybe the reason her music is so successful is because it's simple, right? Like that doesn't like that's a huge thing that people often get like confused. Is like, if the music isn't complicated, then maybe it won't be successful. But no, it's like the simplest music is often the stuff that people want to hear because they can understand it.
That's the exact ending to the movie I just mentioned. Once again, I'm not trying to spoil the movie. I don't know if you watch it. But
I gotta watch this movie.
It's really good. It's like top 10 my favorite movies ever. And the ending is that after the whole night of all these crazy, intricate, weird meals, the main character, the girl, asks the chef, and she's like, "Can I get a cheeseburger, please?" And like it was this big. Once again, it sounds dumb when I'm just bringing it up with no context, but it was this big part. And he's kind of shocked. He's like, I've been giving you some of the finest dining in the entire world, and you're asking me for a fucking cheeseburger. And she's like, yes, I'd like a cheeseburger, please. And basically, because this guy's deranged, right? Like, this is the horror movie. He's like kind of messed up in the head. He starts making her this cheeseburger, and he falls back in love with cooking. And he loses that sense of like being a crazy person. And he goes back to, like, you kind of see a bit of humanity in him, even though he's been, like, killing people the whole night. You see a bit of humanity just by going right back to the roots of what cooking was. So, in the sense, music, going back to the core roots, like, would that surface level stuff that so many people like, the Taylor Swifts, the Ed Sheerans, whatever, do you think that is, like, is that really what musicians are craving deep down? Like, if you just went back to that a lot, because it can get pretty complicated.
Oh, I have a playlist on my phone. It's just like, if I ever showed it to like a music student or someone, and it's just like my like guilty pleasure songs that I just listen to that make me so happy. Yeah. And I just like, I love them. And like, it's like, is it stuff that people in a music school would study? No. Is it complicated? No. Yeah. Is it great? Yes, absolutely. Right. That's so cool. I think every no matter who you are as a musician, everyone has that. Yeah. Everyone has that. Yeah. Of their like like, because it's at the end of the day, it's just like you can study music as much as you want, but at the end of the day, a lot of people just want to listen to the simple stuff that makes them happy, right? That's awesome. Yeah, that's really cool. I had Alexander Kudorf, you know him? Oh yeah, I had him on the podcast a couple weeks ago. Margad president, right? Margad president. Beauty. And he was talking about how, because he takes business, right? And he was saying that he thinks that people are naturally inclined to the arts, like people are creative innately. But they go into business because, you know, you have to make money. It's a tough world out there. Yeah. Music is a harder industry, I'd argue, to make money than business. Mm-hmm. Do you think that a lot of music students or people that go into music come from wealthier backgrounds? Do you think that there could be a link there? That's a great question. I think because there's less pressure to make that money. That's you know, I've never thought about that. I think that. You know what? It's funny because I think that a lot of people who go to like, who went to private schools or had like private music education when they were younger, that's a big thing that if you do it from a very young age, right, that you're more inclined to want to do it later and maybe as a degree possibility. But then people who maybe, you know, didn't have extra, you know, disposable income for music lessons, so that, in that sense, yes, definitely. And I think that a lot of people who are at really high levels of instrumental playing, like, you have to spend a lot of money to fly around taking auditions, to take lessons with people. And when you're doing that, you're not if you're practicing and stuff, like this isn't a job that's paying you. I mean, you can take side gigs on the you do like side gigs and whatever, but at the end of the day, you're not getting paid to work towards this goal, right? So I think that in order to, like, for orchestral musicians or even for some people who make their own music and stuff like that, I do think that that's a good point, that not having that burden of having to make money, that can definitely free up and free up your time and make you go into the arts more. That's a good point. However, I will say that, oh my God, I totally lost my train of thought. I totally lost it.
That's fine. I can just roll right into something.
Yeah.
And then if it comes back to you, we'll go back.
Yeah.
We'll circle back. I think that it will become actually a more profitable career further down the line coming in the future. I know we're talking about AI. AI is going to affect everybody. Doesn't matter what job you go into, everyone's going to get affected. So the reason I think that music will probably be more profitable to be a musician in the future, because I just see that's where the society is trending. I think that the further and further we get away from jobs that are sustaining like survival, because like 2,000 years ago, the musicians didn't get paid a lot. The people that got paid a lot were the ones who were actually making sure that no one was dying, right? Whether you're a doctor or whether you're whatever, emperor, who cares? You're orchestrating the survival of people, okay? The survival of a city, a nation, whatever. But I think that the further and further we get away from that, the more profitable jobs are the ones that people actually want to see. So the artistic, creative positions, whether that's music, whether that's movie stars that are way more popular now than they were 100 years ago, whether it's YouTubers. YouTubers are making so much fucking money. Crazy. No one, I think,
Twitch,
still
all that stuff. Every content creators.
100%. I think that a lot of people, especially our like parents' generation, I think most of our parents' generation haven't quite grasped exactly how much money is being dropped in that space, in like the social media space.
It's insane.
It's crazy. It doesn't feel real to me, but it's very real.
No, influencers they can make ridiculous money now. It's crazy. Like through ads, sponsorships. If you have like 500,000 people watching a video of yours, like that's on par with like television, Yeah. Like that's crazy. So like you can get some serious sponsorships and like make a lot of money off that.
I was hearing Mr. Beast talk about how like he can't even do sponsorship deals anymore because the companies that are looking to sponsor with him don't have enough money in their advertising budget to pay him. Because his views pull like, I think it's twice the Super Bowl, he said. 200 million views a video sometimes. How do you price someone an ad spot for 200 million views?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's insane.
So what he's done is basically he's started his own businesses, whether it's the burgers or chocolate, whatever he does. And it's just more profitable for him to start his own businesses and show them off there instead of asking these companies for the money that he
I didn't realize
deserves.
that's why he was doing that. That makes so much sense.
It's crazy.
That's a crazy thing. Oh my God.
You opened for a content creator, YouTuber?
Oh yeah. Well, I got to work with a guy named Curtis Connor this summer. I got a cool opportunity to write he was doing a comedy special, and I got to write the opening music for when he walked on for the comedy special.
Nice.
That was cool. That was
how did you hook that up?
Well, I did a job writing music for Just for Laughs, which is a festival that happens in Toronto.
Yeah.
A comedy festival, doing like little stings, like these little things where like, when a comedian comes on stage, they need like 15 seconds of music and it has to be original and they have to be able to buy it out. They don't want it to be like every time they play it, they have to pay no, they just want to be like, you do it, we own it kind of thing. So I did that the previous summer before, and it was like the same producer who did that, who got me their job as well. So
nice.
Yeah.
That's cool. What's the process of these gigs? Like just whether it's a comedy club or a bar. Yeah. Do you bring your own equipment or not?
Well, for the Curtis Connor one specifically, it was like a pre-recorded track. So you're just writing, you're just making a track. So basically, what will happen in most of these situations, whether you're writing for a comedy thing or whether you're writing a song for a movie or something, like all these things, a director or producer will come to you and say like, here is what, if I had enough money, this is basically what they do. If I had enough money, this is the song I would use. Yeah. How can you recreate this basically?
Interesting.
So they'll give you a bunch of reference tracks for example, which is why like a lot of things end up sounding kind of similar. I mean, you know, if you look at Star Wars was like originally like put with all this music by this composer named Holst, who was like this guy who wrote this piece called The Planets, basically. Kind of sounds like Star Wars.
Yeah.
And if you listen to the music, like there's been tons of comparisons on YouTube. If you listen to the music side by side, it's like you can see exactly where John Williams, the composer, was copying from all these different things. So, I mean, you don't want to try to do that, but often you have to replicate things that have already been done. That's a big role of like anyone who's going into media composition, any video games or anything like that, because often producers already have an idea of what they want, or they are inspired by something else and they like the sound of that. Or sometimes you get people who are the complete opposite. They're like, this is something I made completely from scratch. Completely go do what you think works best. However, that's much more risky because then you don't know what you're getting. So with the Curtis Connor gig, it was like I got a bunch of reference tracks of what he wanted to sound like, and then I kind of did a few drafts, and then I sent him a bunch of things. He picked one he liked the most, and I focused in on that one, and then made a final version and sent off to him. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's cool.
Is music gonna run out of sounds eventually?
This is a conversation that came up this week in a class actually, because I used some like there's like stock sounds you can use. So like a sound, like say you open up like an audio workstation and you use like a stock sound in the program, and you can like adjust it. But a lot of these sounds they're like they've been used by many people because they're so accessible. Right. So a lot of music you can kind of pick, I've used that kind of sound before. Like there are, you know, the more accessible a sound is, the more people who will use it. And there's also something now called Splice, which is I recently learned about this program. It's like it's like Spotify, but for people who are making music. It's a big, huge library of like tons of people who basically upload, it can be anything. Like they'll upload a sound effect, or they'll upload like a crash symbol, like anything in music related, and they'll upload it. And then people will go in there and they'll download things from there. And it's like, if the more downloads you get, the more like kind of royalties you get for that. So it's like a huge library of all these things, and you pay to be on and you pay you get like a bundle of like 10,000 downloads will be like, I don't know, $50 or something like that. But then it's kind of works in the same way of Spotify, as if like the people who are listening to your music are getting the revenue from whatever they're paying for the monthly fee. Right. So this is like a whole new world of like, you can basically go into this program Splice and you can find any sound that you need right away.
Jeez.
Like it's so easy. If you want if you want like a guitar loop, like a 4-long, you can even, some people write songs based off of these little loops. Like they didn't even come up with it; they just downloaded it. They put it in, and then they can write a song based off of that. And that's super
wild.
Easy. Which is wild, and it's like for like an industry that's trying to like fight AI and like trying to stay so original. It's like, this is not where we want to be. Like we don't want to be getting lazy here. Like this is not.
Yeah, exactly. You got the human beings also f***ing you over on the other side.
Exactly. It's like, man. We gotta figure this out. No, so that's like another whole thing. But don't get me wrong, it's great if you're ever in a pinch and need like quick sounds. I mean, for that Curtis Connor gig, I couldn't find a good like bass drum sound there, like for the kick on the drums. So I went into Splice and I got it. I was like, that's perfect. That's exactly what I wanted.
This episode's sponsored by Splice.
Yeah,
No. But no, that is wild. Yeah, we'll see what happens.
See what happens. Yeah,
to the industry. What's new for you this year? What's your plan? How's year 2 going to go?
Year 2's been good. Just trying to play and do as much writing as possible, really. I recently, last year, I did more of like I did a common year music. So you can do something when you go into music, you can do like a common year. Because I didn't really know what I wanted to go into. And then, so I did a common year. I did an equal amount of like performance and writing and all these things. And then this year, I kind of did a second kind of common year, but I think I'm going to go into more of a composition focus for my 3rd and 4th year. Yeah. And that was basically because I at first I thought I wanted to go into like orchestral performance. I thought I wanted to like learn how to play the triangle to the best of my abilities. I thought that was kind of the idea of what I wanted to do. But then I kind of realized I got to play a lot of drum set over the summer. I went on like a tour and stuff, and I realized how much I love like playing drum set. Yeah. And I'm realizing that if I just keep playing percussion, like that's just a reason for me not to be practicing drum set. And I also discovered I like doing these Curtis Connor gigs and writing music and stuff, and like, you know, listening to a lot of classical music too. I'm like, why don't I just go into something that's more based on writing music, and then I can also do more drum set playing because I won't be practicing as much percussion. 100%. So that was kind of the thought process. So I'm doing more writing this year, and I'm trying to play as much drums as I can. Yeah,
it's good. Music is a very creative, obviously, subject to be studying, which is kind of ironic that you come into university and then first thing to do is like, all right, we're going to teach you this. This is how you play this type of music. You know what I mean? It's like, yes, it's a skill, but it is creative in its essence. So like, do you ever feel that like U of T puts you in a box with certain things? Like, do you ever just really want to be creative and kind of, I guess, spread your wings, but then it's like, no, we're testing you on playing this way.
You know, that's so true, and I think that's a big thing for like writing music. Like, take in like you're gonna get a mark I'm gonna get a mark in composition based off of like I'm gonna present a piece that I like poured my heart and soul into write, and then I'm gonna get like a mark off of that. And there's not really I mean, there are technical things you can do, like your score, like the way it's written on paper has to look really nice.
Right.
But at the end of the day, like you're getting a mark, like you're gonna get marked on something that you like did creatively. It's so subjective.
It's not physics.
Exactly. It's not like right or wrong. It's like it's just an idea. And I mean, I was in like we do these like composition master classes where one of the full-time professors will come in and you'll present a score in front of the class, and then they'll like basically tear it apart and basically like be like, wrong, why are you doing this? And then you're like, I don't know. Like that happens, and it's like, man, like sometimes trying to write, and then you try to write music for them so that next time you come to that master class that they love it. So then you're like kind of in this route where it's like, okay, well, now I'm writing music for my professor. Is this really what I want to be doing? Is this like, you know, I mean, there's a band called the Dirty Projectors. A guy who plays guitar, and he went to Yale, and he ended up like, his music was so weird and no one really liked it, and he ended up dropping out of Yale because he would just like want to write his own stuff that no one would really like, and he became, you know, a huge band. And it's like, maybe that's the way to do it. I mean, but at the end of the day, you still want to get a degree and get educated, but still it's always weird to me that like you come into you're writing music, and I love writing music, but then I'm like trying to present it to people, and I'm like trying to get marked on it, and I'm trying to like you know, make it for those professors who are, it's a little weird. Anyway, it's a little weird.
I took an English course in first year. Any English majors out there, I'm sure you could probably relate. Anytime you have to write an opinion piece, you gotta make sure you know what your professor's opinion is. Okay?
Yes.
So it feels like maybe they can relate, and not that you can't get a good grade by having the opposite opinion. I'm just saying it's a lot easier to get a good grade with the same opinion.
Yes.
So you gotta watch out for that, which sounds like exactly what you're talking about, playing for your professor.
Yeah.
Which is a little strange. Another thing, so Curtis Connor, sorry, just to circle back.
Yeah.
I did a bit of research. I just watched one of his videos, which is really interesting. It was about these TikTokers out on the street who will like film strangers.
Oh yeah, this is a big thing now. I see these all the time.
Big thing.
And I gobble it up. I watch all of them.
Yeah.
It's all on my feed. Yeah.
He was kind of like not tearing them apart, but basically saying like, questioning what does the world come to, where like you just can go whip out your phone in someone's face and expect them to act normal to that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Another thing that he was talking about is how like people just throw the term NPC around like it's nothing.
Yeah.
Like I obviously know NPC, like it's a good insult. I like calling my brother an NPC, but like people will post on like in the gym, people will take gym TikTok videos. Yeah. And when someone walks in front of their camera, they get like pissed.
Joey Swole.
Swole, does he do that?
Yeah. Well, no, Joey Swole's a guy who like, he's on TikTok, and he like, people make these videos where they complain about it. He's like this just ripped bodybuilder. He's like, no, the gym is like a place for people to like, and he like gets really mad at them anyway. But yeah, no, people do that.
It's facts. True. I don't know how you can get, it's a gym. People are going to get strong.
Yeah.
People aren't going to tiptoe around your video.
Oh, I know.
It's terrible. But that aside, I wonder why people are so comfortable, because it's almost like people have become more, I guess, invested or connected to the digital space, like the online social community, than the social community in real life.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is? Like, is the real world, like, because we're slowly transitioning to this like weird meta type, what is it called? Like the Metaspace?
Meta. I don't know what it is. Meta Mark Zuckerberg.
Something like that. Something like that. Where like, I don't know, our lives are seeming more and more to be, they already are. Like we're in, how much screen time do people have on Instagram, TikTok, all this stuff?
Man, it's terrible.
Like our brains are occupied in these other online communities that they actually replace the ones in real life.
Absolutely.
So like, why do you think that that's happening? Or do you think that that's like a normal thing? Do you think that's just like where we're going with the times?
I mean, everyone's got a phone, and everyone films everything. Yeah. You know? So like, I mean, you know, 50 years ago, no one was doing this at all. Yeah. But now everyone just films everything, and
it's a dangerous weapon.
Yeah.
Everyone's become a snitch.
Yeah. Everyone's got like a way to document anything. Just like, whoa, that's kind of crazy. So like, I feel like people just think it's that much more common now that it is right. It is so true that like putting your phone in someone's face is like, don't film people who don't want to be filmed, but it's such a natural thing because, you go to a concert, you film that, you see something on the street, it's like, oh, you feel like that's a normal thing to do, right? So it becomes that much more normal, I think.
Yeah.
And I think it's just going to get worse. So people are just going to keep doing that.
We'll see. Hopefully not. Not that I try not to. I actually don't do a lot of that stuff. Like, I can't imagine just like pulling something out to record. Something that actually pisses me off is whether it's the concert, or put that aside. What's one that I was thinking about the other day? I think people filming.
Oh, filming at the concerts is one that I
think it might be the concert. Do you film at concerts?
No.
No.
I mean, no.
It was the concert. Sorry. I was at a Drake concert. I went to the Drake concert the other day.
Oh my God, that's crazy. You just see a sea of phones.
Why?
Well, it's
You're
like
in person.
people want to show that they're there, right? More than
That's
anything.
what it is.
Yeah, and I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, if I'm at a cool concert, I'll pull out my phone for like a couple tunes. If it's a tune I really like, I'll pull it out and I'll film it because I want to remember that, and maybe I'll post a little thing on social media. But I mean, like people who have their phone out the whole time. It's like, first of all, you're never gonna watch that video all. No way. You're not that big of a fan.
Exactly.
Plus, it's like, I don't know, like something about like if you go to a bar in Toronto too, like it's like you just see. I think that like there's no one on their phone there. It's that when you're at places like Scotiabank Arena watching a huge artist that people are like, whoa, look at this, Yeah. So it's interesting. I think you're so much
disingenuous.
You're so much more present when you're just like watching the show, and I find I enjoy it a lot more.
Absolutely.
If I'm just watching as opposed to like, is my angle right? Oh, I want to get more of that.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely, making it seem like you're having a good time. I think that normally when you are actually having a good time, the phone's nowhere to be seen.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Same with sports games. That's another one. It's people pulling out their phone to film at like a hockey game.
Yeah.
The biggest, most expensive, incredible cameras are all over the arena.
Yeah.
You can watch it on YouTube.
Oh, it's true.
What is your phone doing?
Yeah. No, it's so true. I think it's just because you have it there and you want to, and it's the excitement of the moment. Yeah. A big thing that I changed this year was I've started doing this thing where if I'm doing schoolwork, I'm like naturally like I'm so addicted to my phone as most people are. Like I always want to look at, if I'm doing something I don't want to do, any excuse to be like, scroll through or answer texts or stuff like this is important. I got to do this right now. Yeah. But a new thing that I've done is I have like a desk a drawer next to like a bedside table next to my bedside table. If I'm going to do work, like I will power my phone off. This is what I have to do to like make sure I don't call my phone. I will power it off and I will like put it in the drawer.
Yeah.
Like that's what I have to do. That's like the extent I have to. I can't. Absolutely. If it's anywhere near me, even if I power it off and it's in my bag, I'm gonna like go to my bag and like turn it on. Like
yeah.
It's terrible. So
you have to increase the friction of doing something. Yeah. I left my phone today. I went to go study at the law building. I left my phone here.
That's so good. That's so smart. Not many people do that.
You have to, because like when you have your phone sitting on the desk, it takes like half a second.
So yeah,
half a second to turn on, 2 seconds to get on Instagram.
Yeah.
If I want to go on Instagram, I have to walk for 30 minutes to come all the way back here.
Yeah.
I don't care that much.
Yeah, and you talk about people's like attention span, like narrowing and stuff. It's like, well, yeah, that's why like everyone's got ADHD now. It's like it's just like a device to like make sure you have no attention span. Just all the time. There's always, and the power of like Instagram to give you exactly what you want to see at the exact time. It's scary.
It is.
It's really scary. There's a lot of people too I've seen that's like 10 hours on their phone a day. If they have like a spare time, like no one's bored anymore. Like when I'm lucky enough, like I barely have the time of like, I was never like, you see these like iPad kids that people always talk about, people who are on their iPads all the time. Like I never had an iPad going. I remember like actively being bored a lot as a kid. And like, as a result of this, I would do weird stuff. Like I'd be like, I'm going to go like, try the drums.
Yeah.
Or like something interesting, or maybe it's like something stupid. Like I remember I would go through like something I loved to do when I was little was I would look at baseball stats.
Yeah.
For no reason, like I'd print out baseball stats and I just like look at them.
Nice.
Because I was bored. I was like, I need to like figure something else to do. Like no kid is doing that anymore.
That should be normal for kids.
Yeah, like being bored is the best thing because it makes you do stuff you would never do.
100%.
Right?
Once again, it opens up that creativity.
There you go, creativity.
What would I do? There was one time in a notebook, I was in my dad's place, and I decided to just write down every single NHL player I knew. Just start.
That's awesome. That's such like a 7-year-old thing to do.
All the players' names. And if I knew the number, I'd put the number.
Oh, yeah.
Crazy.
And the position, I would do that too. Yeah.
I think there was another one. I can't. There's so many sticker books. Did you have a sticker book?
I had sticker books. I had hockey card sticker books.
No kids have sticker books anymore.
Oh man, no, really? Come on, the sticker books are not a thing anymore. I
don't think so.
I've never seen. I
They
don't
were
see
awesome.
sticker book.
The hockey ones too.
Yeah.
Oh man,
amazing.
that's tough.
That's tough.
I gotta make sure. Just a side note. If your screen time is above 10 hours, what's like a reasonable screen time you think for our generation? It's hard to say.
It's hard to say because
some people work on their phone.
Yeah, like I know a lot of people who do work on their phone.
Yeah,
and I have no idea how they do that though. But I could never do anything like that.
So I think that's fine. I think if your screen time's high because you're working, it's productive. Sure.
I think you have to look. One thing I love about like my phone is I see the breakdown of my screen time.
Absolutely,
which is really cool. So I can see what I'm looking at a lot of time. And sometimes I'm like, like if my Safari is higher than my Instagram, I'm like, okay, it's okay. Like I'm looking up stuff, or like I'm not just like scrolling endlessly through Instagram or TikTok. But yeah, I'd say I don't know. It's hard to say I think it really depends on what your breakdown is. If you're like working on your if you're like looking at like Quercus and stuff, like that's okay. Yeah. But if you're on like
I don't know who's on Quercus for like 10 hours, but yeah, fair.
Yeah, not much people on Quercus 10 hours. Maybe you are just scrolling through all the old classes.
Quercus addiction.
Yeah,
that'd be crazy. Okay, now let's think. I don't have TikTok. I don't use TikTok. I have TikTok because I post clips for the podcast. Which does that make me a bad person?
No.
If I'm saying like don't use TikTok, it's bad for you. I don't watch TikToks, but I post them because it feeds into people's addiction.
I don't think there's necessarily anything terrible with like as a device. Like I'll sometimes go on I have TikTok on my phone, and I'll sometimes go on for like 10 minutes of like I think that's fine. I think that like I get content that's like perfect for me.
Yeah.
It's just knowing when to stop because it's so like there's been times where I'm like I'm gonna go on my phone for 10 minutes and I'm going for an hour.
Yeah, you have to. So
it's just being aware of that.
It's the same with everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So
drinking moderately is different than
kind of
being an alcoholic.
Yeah. Yes, it's true. that is
it's
true.
Very true. Right? The sky is blue also.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think that I don't know. I'm worried that there are people out there who are they think 10 hours a day is normal, which it isn't. Once again, depends on the usage. Let's say if your TikTok is over 10 hours a week, you gotta work on that a little bit.
That's a lot.
And I think a lot of people actually have it over 10 hours a week. I think it'd be more than you expect.
Yeah. And it would make me so like seeing all that at one time kind of I can see why people like can feel anxious doing like having that. Like it's so much.
Yeah.
It's like, and sometimes you're scrolling through and you kind of forget what you're looking at too. It's like, sorry, I'm watching like a lizard like cross the street and then like do like a backflip. Like what part of like how did I get here? It's like what's happening? It's so
this is the dumbest shit
yeah,
ever,
it's it's so stupid. Like it's so dumb. There was a couple weeks ago I was on TikTok late at night and I kind of just like was doing this. This is bad. Don't do this. But I was just scrolling through. And I got just one of these videos where it's just like if you scroll through well enough, like where you're scrolling quick enough, they kind of forget what to give you. Like they don't know what. Wait, so she's not into this right now. Maybe I should try this. And then you get like some weird stuff, and then that's like if you ever get to that point, it's like okay, that's when you have to turn it off. Like that's when it's just not even like no.
I talked about this on the last podcast that we did. It's not posted yet. I posted this Sunday, but
okay.
I talked about how I had like a very brief TikTok addiction stint. It was like a week where I was understanding what these people were going through. And I got to the TikTok that said, you've been on your TikTok for a while. It's good to sleep. You need to, maybe take a rest.
Oh my God. That would be, I don't think I think I've maybe had that once or twice. I've never felt so embarrassed about
That's bad, bro. The business telling you, all right, we did our job. We got you addicted. I know you're using our product a lot. You should maybe chill. So I was like, all right, I'm deleting this app.
Yeah.
And I have not been addicted.
Good.
I wouldn't call myself. It was a week.
That's good.
I haven't been like hooked on it at all since.
That's great.
It's
The moment for me, I had a great moment this summer where when we toured in America this summer, and I was debating whether I should get a phone plan in America because like it's good to have a phone. There's the things that are good about the phone. And I was looking and it's like $10-12 a day, and I'm like, what do I need this for? And so I did the whole tour without ever having any like data.
Nice.
And a lot of the places like when you're on the road for a lot of time, you'll go like 10-12 hours without any Wi-Fi or connection or anything like that. So interesting to see. So in the amount, the first couple weeks, the first like week or so was kind of weird. I kept opening Instagram, like trying to refresh it.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa. But then by the end, I was talking to my buddies in the car between shows, and it was like, and then the actual, when we got to a show and like we did sound check, and then there's like this hour before we played where you could go on the venue's Wi-Fi and then check it out, and you actually get everything that you needed to get in a half hour. You look like you can respond to all your texts, and you're good. And then that was like such a reward. I look forward to that as opposed to like having it all the time.
Yeah.
Right. So that was like a cool thing, and I'm like trying to remember that like feeling of like not always being connected, and like how that felt, and like it actually felt so much better.
It's
so
amazing.
So much better.
It's amazing. And another thing that's interesting is that the problems of, I guess, 2023 are the same. They're the same type of struggles, just to a much more extreme extent. So what I mean about that is, I was listening to this like productivity, I guess it was a productivity video, you know, helping out businesses and people. Right. But it was really old. It was like from the 80s, 70s maybe. No offense to people who are from the 70s or 80s, but no, it was a little older. And the struggle that they were trying to help people through was batching phone calls. So like the phone is a very distracting thing. When I say the phone, I mean like fucking the wire telephone that would ring in your office, not the iPhone. But basically, it would be a distraction. It rings, you got to answer, talk. Some dude asking you about your day, asking if you watched the Leafs game.
Yeah.
Bullshit. It's distracting you throughout the day. And it's the same things now. It's that, once again, we get texts, we get notifications from Instagram,
Just
all this type of stuff. Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's a much more extreme level because now you can fit in your pocket. Yeah. But he was saying just bash your phone calls. Turn your phone off, answer them all at the end of the day, which is exactly what sounds like what you just explained, how you can get to everything in 30 minutes. If you do it in one session, if you wait till the end of the day, answer all your texts instead of constantly being interrupted throughout the day.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what I had. Once again, I said I left my phone here today. I came back. I had like five people trying to reach me. I answered it in like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
If that were to be 5 separate instances of hearing a notification, getting my bag, losing focus on my work, answering mid-conversation, it's a mess. Yeah. It's a complete mess.
No. Yeah, and structure. Like humans like structure.
Yeah.
Right? Like having that structure of like, this is when I'm doing this. This is the purpose. I'm doing this activity now. This is the purpose of it is to go on Instagram for 10 minutes and respond to the DMs or whatever, right? Yeah. Like that's so much more beneficial to like your mental health and like your everyday life than it is to like, you know, when it happens, you're there and you have it and you're like anxious about when people like, just chill. It's like things are going to happen and this is going to be the way it is. Yeah.
Exactly. This has been a really good episode.
This has been a great episode. Yeah,
thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me, man.
It's been a pleasure. Any final thoughts that you want to share with the people? This has flown by, honestly. It's felt really fast.
Come see a Vic hockey game.
Yeah, for sure.
Scan a little T-card at the door. It's easy. It's good hockey.
We'll win. We'll win the next one.
Yes, we will. Yes, we will.
But yeah, all right.
Awesome. Take care, man. See you later.
Thanks for coming on.
Nice. Thanks for having me.
Ladies and gentlemen, VoV podcast every Sunday. That's Thomas Carli. Like the interview if you like Thomas. Great guest. And we will see you next Sunday. Follow the Instagram at Voices of Vic. I don't care this time if you don't follow the TikTok. Okay, if you don't want to follow the TikTok, no worries. Subscribe to the channel. These interviews are very productive and can hopefully help your life.
Awesome.
That's it.
Thank you so much.
Peace out.
See ya.